Crusaders. I'm Brooke Plack, your host today on the Grit Crusade podcast. And I have a very special guest here with me today, my husband. Yay!
This is the day she's always dreamed of.
Right? And what most of you may not know is that we work together. So we are actually coworkers. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's different. It's hard to define that line. I would say that's the hardest part. I mean, we do a good job about not taking personal relationship into our decision making in business. So I feel like we've done a really good job on standing our ground if we believe one way, if the other believes another.
That's quite the understatement when you say standing our ground. What that really means is getting into knockdown dragouts about the way we think it should be every once in a while.
Yeah, we're both very stubborn.
Yeah, that's
people.
So true. That's so true. All right. So for those of you, this is your first time watching the podcast or our YouTube channel, thank you for joining us and spending some time with us. And if you're returning, welcome back. So before you worked with me and we worked together, you had a life before that, right?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
I did.
We weren't dating when I hired you.
No.
Either. Yeah. So that was interesting. So tell us a little bit about, you came from a corporate background,
mm-hmm.
and then now you've been in small business. How many years has it been now? So 2015,
7 years.
7 years, 8 years, almost 8 years, I guess. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about kind of what your life was like before we worked together and what you were doing then.
Okay. So before, I was working for a company called Carlton Bates. And I actually went there for an in-between position. I just came out of a banking job and decided I wanted to go into something more logistical.
Yeah.
And I happened to know someone there and they introduced me in and said, hey, just come work for me for a little bit on the floor and just kind of see how things go. Well, really quick, I found out that I was really good at what I was doing. So I pretty much found every opportunity and kept moving myself forward.
Like up the ladder.
Yeah, up the ladder, doing different positions and learning the ins and outs, and kind of attach myself with the knowledgeable, maybe not the most favorite people of the company, but by far the most knowledgeable. I learned so much from some of these people and on a fast pace. So I just continuously moved up to where I was one of the top grossing sales reps in the entire company.
Yeah. And that's when I hired you.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had a part-time coaching position open at Empire Kids, our youth recreational business. And I had a staff member leaving like the next week to go back to the oil fields in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, I've got a friend. I got a guy I know. And little did I know, though, you had been scoping me out a couple years before, right?
I had.
Yeah.
I've always been in the industry for a long time.
In the cheerleading industry.
Yeah. And I was with another company doing it on the side. And I've always kind of
coaching on the side,
yes,
right? Yeah.
I've always done it out of passion, not so much out of necessity. And I happened to go to an event and Brooke was at. I didn't know who she was.
But he saw I didn't have a ring on.
And I noticed her very fast.
Noticed me very fast. Ooh, is that a compliment? I feel like that's a hair flip kind of compliment.
Yeah.
All right. So you were working at Carlton Bates, and no relation, obviously, to your last name, but I think you might have leveraged that a bit while you were there. And so we hire you part-time. And then eventually somehow, because I can be somewhat convincing, they say I can sell ice to an Eskimo, we convince you to come work full-time in small business.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. And thinking back, that's kind of crazy that you said yes.
It was. It took a lot of thought.
Yeah.
A whole lot of thought.
Why did you say yes? Why did you decide to do it?
I saw what you were doing, and I fully believe in your capabilities.
Oh, thank you. Write that down as a compliment. Yeah. I love that, man. I got to soak that one in.
Yeah. And sometimes you just have, when you know and you have a gut feeling, you just have to go with it no matter.
But you were literally risking a full-time salary and commission, at a company where you were doing really well. And you liked the people you worked with. You loved Trudy. And you moved to a kind of hourly type job where you were also having to teach private lessons on the side to even make
10 a week.
Yeah.
I had to teach 10 private lessons a week.
To make ends meet, like
Yeah.
to actually get close to what you were making before. And it was a huge pay cut for you. So I don't feel like that's something that a lot of people would be willing to risk. So that speaks volumes of your trust in me. Ooh, yeah. That got deep quick, huh?
It did.
Yeah, sure did.
I mean, it was a major pay cut, but I feel like it was worth it mentally. Everyone, I'm just going to put this snippet out there that when you're young, I was bought into, if I want to make as much money at a young age as possible. And I did just that. I grew and knew that because I am not formally educated, that sales would be a niche.
So you don't have a college degree.
No.
And but you went to college like a little bit here and there. And I feel like there's a lot of people that can relate to that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I found that real quick, I had a niche for the logistical and asset management and all that kind of side. Well, partnering that with sales, it was just a win-win because I could pretty much write my own paycheck.
But you left.
Yeah.
And why? I know you trusted in me, but like you were saying like that you were trying to make as much money as possible when you were young. And then you decided what?
Well, I decided, reality came in and said that, okay, that money's rolling in and you're not having to want for anything. You're completely independent. You could do whatever you want to, yet there's still that void.
Yeah.
It never filled the gap that you were searching for. And I feel like people all over go for that, or they'll go for positions and different things
like titles and stuff. Yeah.
That don't really feel like necessarily build up their soul and feel that.
Yeah. So like the passion.
Right.
Like you liked what you were doing. You liked who you worked with, but you weren't necessarily like, waking up like dying to do that every day.
I have nothing bad to say about that company at all.
Yeah.
I loved it. I had very good relationships.
And a lot of growth while you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met some really fantastic people. One of the people that taught me that were very knowledgeable is Miss Vicky, who happens to be DJ Williams' mom, and she is literally a saint.
Oh, wow.
She is awesome. But yeah, there was just something missing.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had a calling to be not only in the community, but continue to like touch the lives of children and be that positive male influence that so many kids don't have.
Man, right?
And it just, that's what fills me inside.
And I've seen that with your coaching and the way you work with kids. There's so many kids I see that gravitate towards you that have a home that is run by maybe just a mother. And to have another man in their life that they can see and talk to and have a relationship with and know it's changing lives. It really is. And so, I mean, I think I felt similarly, like, leaving my job teaching as a school teacher. I loved it, but I was called to do something else. But I feel like so many people get stuck in that in between right there of like, is it worth the risk? Am I going to risk it for the biscuit? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we both, like, I hadn't really thought about that before now, but we both had to take that leap of faith going, okay, I'm going to put my trust in this small business that could totally fail. But I guess I always told myself, like, somebody's going to hire me, right? Like, if this doesn't work out, like, I can go work at Walmart and be a greeter, or I can go, do something else. Like, it's not, in the beginning, it definitely wasn't about money because we weren't making very much money. We were making enough to like pay our bills, and that was pretty much it. So I think that there's that element of risk involved there too, that you have to, like you said, like, what fills your soul versus what's easy and already making money and, you're growing it and stuff too. So, okay. So I want to talk a little bit more about the stress and the struggles of small business versus corporate. But first, we're going to do my trivia in the trenches segment. Ta-da! Are you ready? It's a good one. I feel like you're going to laugh. Okay. Okay. Are you ready? Most people don't get these right. Except I think I have like 3 people now I've gotten them right. But then when I do my solo episodes, like, I just assume no one gets them right, so I don't have to count those. So yeah. All right, here we go. In late 2017, Nike partnered with another company to co-brand a line of Be Like Mike Jordan sneakers. What was the other brand?
That'd Be Like Mike.
Yeah, so they, like, Nike partnered with another company, did a collab of the Be
Another
Like
shoe
Mike.
company or designer?
It's not an apparel company.
It's not.
Not an apparel company. 2017, Be Like Mike. Dun, 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 dun. While he's thinking, which you may not know, is my husband has a sneaker obsession and like an entire sneaker wall, like in our joint office that he's kicking me out of, right? So when I do Zoom calls now, the whole back wall behind me is like all of these Nike sneakers and stuff. So you got to guess?
I feel like I should know this.
It's a beverage company. I've never given anyone a hint before. Maybe it's because I like
Coca-Cola?
No. Gatorade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Be Like Mike. It was Nike and Gatorade. So, yeah, that was
in
cool.
2017, they actually came out with a line of Gatorade Jordan 1s.
Were they called Be Like Mike?
No, but they had, the grape, the orange, they
had the different colors?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So, you didn't get it right.
No.
Yeah, you got that one wrong. So
you get back up.
No.
Okay.
That's it. That's all you get. You just get one. You get totally one. Yeah. And so I think I have 3 people now who've gotten them right, but that's all you get there. Okay. So what we were talking about before my fun trivia in the trenches segment, I thought you were going to get that one. I kind of did. I know, right? I'm happy I stumped you. It made me happy. Okay. So you left corporate, you went to small business. You're now the president of our companies. So we have 3 operating companies, and Justin is president of the childcare business and our early learning center, and then our youth recreational business. What has been like the best part or benefits of being in small business versus corporate?
I think you're in control of your own culture.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I feel like culture can either make or break a company, no matter what size, whether you're a Fortune 500 or just starting out. Obviously, the flexibility at times. I mean, there are times of the year that we have 0 time to even breathe, but it is nice whenever you can work hard, play hard kind of mentality.
Wake up on a Friday morning and not have to leave the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. Be able to like call the shots on whenever you want to go to your kids something, Yep. Yeah. So what about like coworker relationships? Do you think that's easier in small business or harder?
I think you have to foster the relationship a little bit more in a small business, because in corporate, in my experience, a lot of the people around you, you work with at face value and you don't really kind of know them.
I feel like in small business, like you become entrenched in each other's lives. For
100%. Because I'm not saying all corporate is like this, but a lot of them, whenever you have a, say, family disaster, something falls apart, and they may give you a little bit of grace, but for the most part, there's no emotion attached to it. In a small business, typically, there's a lot more feeling. That's a extension of your family.
It is. Yeah, I know. Our team is like part of our family.
Mm-hmm.
We have Friendsgiving every year because we're having Thanksgiving with people that we spend more time with than we do our like biological families.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome. So what about the stress and the struggles? Like what's harder about being in small business for you than it was in corporate?
I feel like me personally in corporate, I took for granted that I did my position. I did it very well. And then it was someone else's job to take it from that point.
Yeah,
like whatever my stopping point is.
Like you were doing inside sales.
Yes.
And so then your outside, it would go to your outside salesperson or to fulfillment or to whatever after that, right?
Yeah, essentially like there would be an A to B task and there's B to C tasks, and like they would carry on through the ranks or whoever was responsible for that. In small business, it's not like that necessarily.
No,
we try to build it that way.
Yes. The systems are a work in progress even after almost 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is something, I think it's culture shock that a lot of people deal with whenever they jump and go from corporate to small businesses. Okay, now there's way more to this than I thought. I can't just go out there and just sell this person on whatever my product is or service.
Yeah.
And then I'm done, like a lot of sales are.
Yeah.
You have to see it all the way through. Like it's not just...
I've never really thought about it like that, because a lot of times when a task has to happen in small business, you carry it from the inception to the completion.
Yeah. And you may not be like fully in charge of every single step, but you're pretty much checking behind constantly to make sure it's getting all the way done.
That follow-up. I think that was something that was really hard for me to learn. And I think you can probably agree with that, is the degree of follow-up in small business, because oftentimes you're training people that are skilled, like for us, our coaches, they may be skilled in coaching cheer, but they've never had leadership training.
Yeah.
And so we're teaching them not only how to work with our company and our culture, like you mentioned, but also how to be a leader and how to be responsible and accountable for what it is that they are supposed to be doing. While loving them, because now they're an extension of your family.
Yeah. I think another big part is developing your own processes. Like a lot of times I've had experience with, I work for a Fortune 500 company that they would pay out $1.3 million to have a Six Sigma certified or a lean specialist group to come in and evaluate all of your processes or develop new ones for you. We simply don't have the funds to do that.
No, and
we're creating these processes and creating culture that is saying, hey, if there's something that's broken along the way, let's develop this constantly.
And how are you learning how to do that? Because like we haven't had we haven't had
Six Sigma.
There we go. Six Sigma training. I actually do know what that is, even though I can't say it audibly today. So we haven't had that kind of training. So how do you learn how to do this and lead teams when we don't have the funding, like you said?
Personal education.
How do you do that?
I am a huge advocate for finding information. And I also have ADD, so that comes hand in hand with that. I just feel like there's nothing out there that is just, you're not born with this knowledge, no matter what you are. If you have a degree, if you don't have a degree, you're never born with, there's always gaps.
Yeah.
So you have to continue to self-educate, or it's never, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And ultimately, if you have that mindset of, no, this is just how it is, like you're just setting your business up for failure.
So are you reading books, listening to podcasts? What are you doing?
Kind of all of the above.
Yeah.
I found an interesting thing the other day that I keep saying apologize for that.
That's
anyway,
all right.
I found something the other day that edX is a website that Harvard and Brown and several other entities have free courses, and they're like 8 week courses that you can take for nothing.
So it's like ed and then X like .org or .com or something. Yeah.
Costs you absolutely nothing. Like right now I'm enrolled in 2 fundamental leadership courses and then a Six Sigma certification course.
Six Sigma, that word I can't say.
Yeah. And like the Six Sigma one, it's a 3 8 weeks courses, and it's cost me like $99 for a full certification. So, and the other ones are free.
So once you learn that, then what do you do with it? Because in small business, there's nobody else training the staff. So then what do? You're going to take these courses, and then what? What does that look like?
I have to develop training.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Carry that torch from like literally, like we said, the inception to the end. So it is very different than corporate. In school districts, I worked in corporate, then in school districts, and then obviously in small business. And so I do feel like the roles are a lot more segmented. And I think it has to do with organizational size.
Yeah.
There's just not as many people to do all the things. We have a marketing team and a admin team that handles HR and risk management and all that. But still, when you're talking about just overall training, it really falls on the leaders to do that kind of thing, for sure. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool information. I don't think we've ever talked about it like that deep into, what you did and stuff. So along the way, after you transitioned out of, corporate, we got married. Yeah, we did. We got married. We had a kid first, actually. Yes. We had a kid first. You knocked me up. Not good. Fun times. Yeah. You're 33 years old. And I have a beautiful 5.5-year-old now. And then we went to Greece and got married. And then when we got back, the whole world fell apart. What happened?
My brother, who was 28 at the time, tragically passed away from an unforeseen work accident.
Yeah.
It was definitely a humbling moment because at our age, you feel like you're indestructible. And, we're both athletic. We come from an athletic family. Nothing ever really crazy goes wrong. And then you blink and it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you handled it?
Not the worst, but not the best either.
I think everyone in the grief, I'm not laughing at you, but it's the truth. Like there is no like perfect way to navigate grief.
Mm-mm.
It's so hard.
It is hard. It's especially for me. I tend to be a workaholic, whether it's proactive or just busy, to keep my mind busy. And sometimes you fall into those habits of just working, just to work, and completely emotionally detaching. And I did a lot of that.
Yeah.
And even through some therapy and some different things, it just, some of grief just has to happen on your own.
Yeah. There's no
I mean, it
timeline.
does.
Yeah. There's no timeline for
Yeah.
sure. How has it changed you? Like losing Tanner. How's it changed you?
I should ask you that.
Oh, I don't know if you want me to answer.
I mean, I'm definitely more emotionally detached, even though I try not to be.
Yeah, for sure. I think you are. Because I think there is an amount of, when I lost my mom, I started Empire. So I lost my mom in September of 13. And I started teaching clinics in December of 13, 2 months later. And so for the 5 years probably following that, all I did was work.
Yeah.
So I think I did my fair share of emotional detachment too. And I've definitely seen that in you. Like just totally finding everything else but being still.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
really, go ahead.
fun fact, we kind of bonded a little bit over that because we were both workaholics in different fields.
Yeah.
But it is something that some of our previous experiences and significant others from before had issue with.
Yeah.
So it's something that we both had in common.
Yeah. And I think that, and this is not just you specifically, but it is you. But I think everyone that goes through a trauma of any type, you try to avoid experiencing any emotions, like at all. So, or processing or talking about them. And so you avoid situations that could be emotional, like having long talks with people, your spouse, and that's hard. That's hard being the partner of that because you have to allow space for that when you still have your own emotional needs. And that's hard. I feel like we're having a marriage therapy session on the podcast. Yeah, this is good. I'll interview you more often. So do you think that, and I don't mean this insensitively, but like, I know I'm better. I'm a better person after losing my mother. I don't wish my mother wasn't here. I'm a better person from losing her. Do you think that there are parts of you that are better now? Like wiser?
Yeah, I feel, I know, not feel, just like I did with making the decision to jump from corporate to what I'm doing now is being a person of influence to help guide people. This is another notch on my belt, essentially, to help those people like through whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
And know that someone, no matter how it may look on the outside of like what you think of them, or that they also go through struggles.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, life is real. They're not untouchable. Death does not discriminate. Illness does not discriminate.
Addiction doesn't discriminate.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's all there, no matter if you want to believe it or not.
So you feel like that you have more empathy now towards others.
Yeah. And I feel like I can fully say, like, I've been through this, I got through it, and you can too.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I learned from one of my previous guests, Josh Gonzalez, he's the president, he's on the board of the Arkansas Crisis Center, is that no two journeys are alike, but I still believe that there are, there's a certain amount of wisdom, empathy, just knowing when you've been through hard stuff like that helps you walk side by side with someone. They're never going to be experiencing exactly the same thing, but it does. And life is hard. It's just hard. And people that have not been through hard stuff, I hate to say it, but just like sit and wait. because it's
Yep.
going to happen to everybody.
Especially the older you get, and sometimes it just happens earlier than others. I mean, he was 28
Yeah.
and completely healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's rough. So, okay. So tell us a little bit. So we've talked about work. We've talked about, losing your brother. Tell us a little bit about like you. What do you do for fun?
Well, I like disc golf. I like shoes. I like to buy and sell and trade shoes.
You have a shoe Instagram.
Yeah, I do.
What's it called?
Solution.
Spell it. S-O.
S-O-U.
Oh yeah, you're dyslexic. And I asked you to spell it. Soul, the S-O-L-E.
Yes.
U-T-I-O-N.
Yes.
A-R?
Yes.
On
Solution
Instagram.
AR on Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah. And he takes these really cool pictures and they look like super fancy and professional. And he's got like these lights and all this stuff. And he's like, I got a grow light. I'm like, are you going to grow weed? And it's actually just for the shoes.
It's for icing soles and getting the yellow out.
Yeah, for his shoes. So that was funny. So you like to disc golf and you like to buy and sell shoes and wear them.
And wear them.
He wears them and then he cleans them like obsessively. And then I just pile my sneakers on his like
every night.
Yeah, every night I pile my sneakers on his vanity, the bathroom, so he'll clean my sneakers. And sometimes he just sits them back in the floor. And I'm like, well, they're going in the box dirty. So, there's that. There's that. So what advice would you have for people that are, in a position and they know it's not what's fulfilling their soul, like you said earlier? What advice would you have for them?
I think you have to look and try to define what it is you're looking for, because it could be something that's not even, if you're working at a great job, the biggest, I would say, if you're not happy and you have great culture in your company, there's room for advancement in your company, you feel like you're able to communicate and your opinion matters, then it may be some other things. So I would look into that. If you're working for a company that is just not doing it and it's just not hitting that mark, but in your heart that you want to do XYZ, then the hardest part is making the jump. I don't know how many people I've talked to that have the ambition and, they envy a small business owner because they're like, yeah, I just want to work for myself. And there's stuff that goes along with that. You realize that, right? This is usually how I respond. But the hardest thing is just making the jump and being able to stomach that it's all on you. And a lot of people cannot perform in that manner. They really can't.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. If you come down to it and then in your gut, that you can run this through, go for it. The sky's the limit.
You only get one trip.
Yeah. There's no difference in, obviously the IQ of like Elon Musk, but any company is Walmart, anybody was founded by someone that's just like you.
Regular person.
Yeah. They just kept pushing and kept learning and there was never an end point.
I get these emails. I think you get them too. The 321 emails from James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. And yesterday, his email, and I'm paraphrasing here. So, and I didn't write down if it was from him or another person, but he said, part of the way to success is just average effort.
Consistently.
Yeah. Over time. Like if you show up and do the same thing, even if it's not like top of the line, wow effort, that you're consistently showing up and doing something over and over and over again, like that's what leads to success.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many people stop short of almost success.
I agree.
I always have told people, and I'm sure someone told me this, was, if you give up, what if tomorrow was the day that you were going to succeed?
I feel like there's this word to the wise, there's a skewed perception of what I've been doing this a long time means, right? So I see a lot of frustration, and I've seen it with multiple companies that, you put in 2-3 years, and to them, that's a long time of doing this. But when it's really nothing, like you're talking, you start to get to 10 years and you start to get to 15, 20. Like a lot of people and companies don't explode until 10, 15, 20 years and start growing, because that's really getting people invested that work for you, that really believe and are bought in. It takes that amount of time just to get everything rolling. It really does.
I mean, I think when you bring on a new team member, it literally takes one solid year, a whole calendar year, because every business, no matter what it is, has seasons. You know, they're like busier seasons, production seasons, whatever it is. It's a whole year just to get their first round of training done. So to say I've been doing this a long time for 2 years, no, you really just been through 2 training rounds.
No.
Because the first year, you're just trying to figure out what's going on. Then the second year, you're trying to remember what happened last year. And then in the 3rd to 5th year is when you really, the 3rd to 5th year is when you can really start to improve on that.
Yeah, that's when you're actually developing. It's basically training, a year of working on your own. And then year 3, you're starting to see the light of how you can improve things. And then you're developing those the next 2 years at minimum.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us what you mentioned earlier, that you like to, listen to podcasts, read books, YouTube channels, edX, whatever. So what is your favorite like book or podcast or?
I like Atomic Habits. That was a good one.
Yeah, by James Clear.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I like reading stories of how major companies developed.
What's that Nike book called? The Nike
Shoe
one?
Dog.
Shoe Dog. Yeah. You really took a lot away from that
Yeah,
book.
it's really good. Yeah, actually, it's a very interesting book. If you have not, like, they go through years and years of just chaos.
Yeah.
Because of the not developing the processes, having potentially, they're more about the top line and not really developing where they need to be.
Yeah.
And they're not profitable for a very, very long time.
What's the name of that movie you took me to see that has to do with the Nike story
Air.
too? Air? Yeah, that was epic.
Yeah.
That was really good.
And the same kind of thing touches on there, where it's just kind of chaotic. But no was never the answer. There was never I'm done. They just keep pushing forward. I don't know how many times that Philip Knight went to a bank and got turned down, or had the loan default, or as he's waiting on these shoes to come in and he has orders to fill. And I mean, he just never, he would literally jump on a plane and go to Japan or wherever and just keep pushing, keep pushing.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So what has been the most memorable part of your leadership journey so far?
The most memorable.
I feel like we need some Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do.
There's just so much. It's a lot. The Metzger boot camp is really...
Oh yeah, I've talked about that before.
Really good. There's a lot of information. And there's no way you can cover it all in just one session of going there.
It's a small business boot camp in Ohio.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they run a multi-sport venue for youth athletics, and that ranges significantly one direction to another. And they just have a very interesting culture of developing programs to where they understand they're almost acting like businesses
within a business
that are in some ways competing against one another, because they fully know that if this program is profiting and they're growing and all this stuff, they could completely take over another business area.
Yeah.
Like it's a very interesting.
Well, and I think the thing that we learned at the boot camp from the beginning, and I've been 4 or 5 times now, is lead in a manner that you can promote from within.
Right.
Is so that you always have future leaders that are in the incubator and growing and learning, that can come in should you lose a staff member for whatever reason. Maybe their spouse gets a job, maybe they decide not to do this anymore, whatever it is. And I think that's a hole we've seen in other small businesses.
Absolutely.
Is they don't have that in place. And so when something happens, and it always is, your staff's always going to be changing, that's your human capital. And they're not ready. They don't have anyone there that can step up, that's even remotely equipped or capable of running that department or that program. So,
and I've been a part of this, that me personally, and a lot of other small business owners that may just be them and, their group, they fully believe that they can't trust another individual if they bring them on without looking over their shoulder, because they're just not going to do it like I do or whatever. To be successful as a business owner or leading the people from within, you have to understand and fully know that there are people out there that can do it better than you do.
Yeah, thank goodness, right?
Like, and it doesn't have to be everything all encompassing, but someone's going to be better at this. Someone's going to be better at this. And if you don't realize that, you're just standing on your own brakes.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's good stuff. I like it.
It is.
So what's it like to have your wife as your boss?
I mean, I have a strong personality. People wouldn't believe that because I'm pretty quiet. And as a coach, I'm not very aggressive. I'm one of those people that'll just, talk to them quietly and they kind of come out with eyes real bright. So they know that I mean business. If I have to raise my voice, something's went wrong. And, but I definitely think that it's interesting to say the least because, usually you would look at a business like ours or anyone that have a husband wife like that are running this entity and they automatically think nepotism. It's what they think. But I would argue that in ours
Well, I already
completely
tried to fire you twice
twice.
and you kept coming back.
Yep.
And I don't mean that lightly. Like I really did tell you you were done
I
and
know,
find
and
a
I
new
kept
job.
coming back.
Yeah.
Persistence.
And I would say too that I don't really lead in a boss-like manner. Like we all have our own responsibilities. And yeah, at the end of the day, there is like a whose word is final. But like you said earlier, I feel like I hire people that are better than me. Like I want every single person, you got to be better than me at something.
Right.
Or why else would you be on my team? Why wouldn't I do it myself? Right. And so when you have people that are stronger and better than you in other areas, why wouldn't you let them just do their thing?
I mean, I still struggle with all that.
With working with me?
No.
Oh.
Just that, well, there's some things that I know that I do better and I probably always will, but it's just because of my previous career and stuff like that just it comes natural. It's hard to take a step back knowing that the process is going to be slower to educate and train someone. And it's not always convenient, especially if you live in the reactive work life where you're constantly reacting to things like it's spastic and new, even though you've been doing it for 7 years and it's not a surprise. Like you have to know how to better manage your time so you can actually allot for training someone to take over. Because ultimately, in our company, we make it very known that we want someone to take this over one day.
Yeah.
There's no, like, sky's the limit. There's no, okay, I'm this coach. I'm going to do this. I'm only going to be there for 20, 30 years and that's it. We don't want that. We want someone to literally take my position.
I'm like, the faster I can get leaders in these positions, the faster I can open another company.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's my sweet spot, for sure. Okay. So, is there anything else you wanted me to ask you about?
I have a comment.
Oh, well, comment away.
Going back, I was just thinking in my mind about the suggestions or what you would tell someone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to choose and pull the trigger. Like, movement in any direction is better than no movement.
Ooh,
and I see that a lot.
That's good.
People freeze and nothing happens. And they're trying to get it just right. And there
is no just right.
There's no just right. You can't predict the economy. You can't predict a
pandemic.
Like anything that's going on. You can try to understand the psychology of your customers and everything, but ultimately they will go rogue at some point, like here or there. So you just have to move.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, from the outside looking in, especially someone who is in a service industry, if you see this a company is just stagnant, then I like forward thinking. I like new and innovation. I like whether it works or not. It's cool. You could be a cool concept and not work. That doesn't mean that you messed up. That means that maybe right now is not the time for that specific thing. Yeah. Maybe you bring it back.
Or not the right market.
Right.
Yeah, I've talked about before on here is if Starbucks and Target have already done for us, we're not an online business, so we're an in-person business. But if Starbucks and Target have figured out there's enough disposable income there to support their business model, there's enough for us.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out what that measure is. And it may not be Target and Starbucks. It might be something different, but what is the measure that you're looking for, and where are you putting your product or service or whatever? So, yeah. So is there anything you want to ask me?
Um,
I think you put a question on your questionnaire. You said, you said,
yeah,
you remember?
why you did what?
You said, what made you take a gamble on me?
Yeah, why?
Work ethic.
I am rough around the edges. Before we really even knew each other, we had gotten into in front of staff members, which is not, I had to stand up and formally apologize the next one, but
you ripped my head off in a staff meeting in like 2016. And everyone there was like, this is so awkward.
Brooke intimidates a lot of people. She does.
Well, apparently not.
Like, I can't believe that. I'm not.
You did. You had a full-on apology.
Yeah, I had a full-on apology.
Yeah. But the reason I took a gamble on you, you didn't even let me answer, was work ethic. For sure. Like, there's no way I would have wanted you to come leave your corporate job, because now making that payroll was on my shoulders, right? Or I felt like it was. And if you hadn't been the kind of worker you were, and you were terrible at the several different positions that you tried, it was not the right fit. And
there is a common struggle from corporate to small business, like knowing how to manage your time, the roles, the everything. But I don't even know how many positions.
Like 700, and we didn't even have that many, I feel like.
Yeah. I was doing marketing and facilities and
apparel,
all kinds of things.
Yeah, retail stuff.
And jumping around.
And I'm like, nope, never mind. Don't do that. That ain't working. Yeah.
Because there for a long time, especially at the beginning, I was definitely try to develop it where it's perfect. And I didn't realize that there was nothing
going to be perfect.
Yeah, it was not going to be perfect.
Yeah, at all.
So now I move way faster
and
just making decisions. And then we also had to build the culture of, hey, I'm putting this out here. We're going to operate this way. If something's wrong, then we need to have those added, adjusted, all that stuff. But you have to create that.
Yeah. And the culture of this is how we do things here.
Yeah.
We do what's best for kids. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay. You're just not going to do that at this company.
Yeah. Or, if you don't want to do the work or the bare minimum, that's fine. You're a great employee, but this is your cap. This is where you end.
Yeah.
This is where the road ends.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So I have the same last question that I ask everyone on the podcast. It's been great having you today, by the way.
Thanks.
Have you had fun?
Yeah.
Yeah? Am I intimidating?
No.
Okay,
I don't ever think you're intimidating.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't think you did. All right. So what's one thing you've always wanted to do but haven't yet?
As in anything?
Yeah, in life.
I want to do lots of things.
Like my friend Laura Kirk, she wants to kayak. She had never kayaked.
Oh.
So that was something that she'd always wanted to do. Some people are like, I've done everything I wanted to do. So
no, I'm definitely not. There's infinite. I want to go to Japan. I want to, China too. I feel like there's so much cultural difference.
Yeah.
Because their culture, the whole place was closed off for so long. They were essentially untouched by the outside world. And I find that very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Cool. So Asia.
Yeah. Asia. Indonesia. I just like travel. There's
Still
a lot of places.
Still Asia. Yeah. So Asia.
I'm talking about specific places.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because Asia, there's parts of Indonesia's more rainforest and all that kind of stuff, like Bali and different.
Yeah.
There's just different landscapes and places that I want to see.
Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah. How do you find time to take off work to travel?
Work really hard.
Yeah. And I just book air tickets too, huh?
And train people.
Yeah. And train people. Delegate. Let them go. Yeah. It's awesome.
And that's one of the hardest things to do.
Isn't it? Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, it's been great having you today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I've learned more about you, and I live with you. So yeah, that was fun. I'll have to have you back sometime.
Yeah.
And talk about, I don't know, whatever we didn't talk about today.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Grit Crusade podcast with Brooke Plack. Our theme song is Thunder City by Lunar Ray, licensed through Soundstripe. This podcast was produced by Luminate Media Group. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.